Welcome back to the Remedify Coaching Program podcast. Today we're diving into a book that's really made waves. Oswald J. Smith's The Challenge of Missions. It's a powerful read.
Oh, absolutely.
And today we're going to unpack the core arguments, that passionate call to action he has.
Yeah,
And hopefully glean some insights that still resonate with us today.
for sure.
We've got Smith's words and stories right here, so
Let's do it. Let's jump in.
let's see what jumps out.
Okay.
The core theme, it seems to be, revolves around the church.
Right.
And its role in global evangelization. Smith doesn't hold back, though. He really assesses where the church is at.
Oh, no, he doesn't.
And then he lays out what he believes are fundamental principles to fulfill that mission.
Exactly. And, he kicks off the challenge of missions in chapter 1 with a pretty dramatic picture. It's called Satan's Defeat. And it's almost like a scene, right? Like you're watching something unfold. We see Satan and his fallen angels scheming basically to block the gospel from reaching different nations. He uses places like Alaska, Tibet, Afghanistan, and
Yeah, and what's interesting, I thought, was he gives the different regions to these almost symbolic princes.
right, princes of darkness.
To sort of like keep the gospel out.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the Prince of Alaska, he's boasting about how no Eskimo has ever heard the gospel yet. They tried to get in, but he thwarted them.
Right.
And the Prince of Tibet, he tells this story of how they attack missionaries as they come.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and even the Prince of Afghanistan, at first, he's like, yeah, we're keeping it out pretty well.
Successfully blocking the message. And it's
Yeah.
like Smith is painting this picture of just how intense the spiritual battle is. But then he fast forwards 50 years.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? There's
Yeah.
a total shift
Total shift in the scene.
in the scene. And Satan's restless. He's troubled.
He's worried. And the Prince of Alaska, he comes back and he's defeated. He's like, yeah, we couldn't stop them.
Yeah, the missionaries got through.
They got through. We tried to keep them out, but they made it.
Hmm.
And now, according to Smith's count, Eskimos are turning to Christ. So you see this theme already. This spiritual battle's real, but the gospel will ultimately triumph
If there's that persistence.
that persistence, that's it.
And the Prince of Tibet, the
Yeah.
same thing.
Same story.
He's like, well, we used dogs to attack them. We tried to incite hatred, even starvation, disease, but
But it didn't work.
it didn't work. They still got through.
And you can imagine how encouraging that is to those on the front lines, right?
It's like,
Yeah.
keep going.
Keep going.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, don't give up. Even the Prince of Afghanistan, remember? The one who was so confident.
Yeah.
Well, even he had to admit, like, look, the gospel, it finally reached my people. They're converting.
Yeah, that's wild.
It really sets the stage for the whole book. This is a battle,
This war.
but we win. Okay, so chapter 2, a world vision.
Okay.
Smith really wants us to see the world like God sees it. Embracing all nations, all people. And he's pretty critical of what he calls that localized view,
What's that?
the kind where you only care about your own community or your own little corner of the world.
Gosh.
And I love the analogy he uses here. It's about viewing Jamaica from an airplane. At first, you only see a small part,
Okay.
right? But as you go higher, you see the whole island.
Right.
And his point is that God sees the whole world all at once,
Simultaneously.
And then he asks us, why is our view so limited?
Yeah, and he's challenging this idea that we're the only ones that matter.
Exactly. He talks about traveling and hearing people say things like, well, we are the people, like their nation is the center.
Oh, I see.
It's the self-centered view, right?
Yeah.
And he points out how ironic it is that different cultures all kind of have this same thought,
That they're the center.
that they're the center. It's a human thing, I guess. But it's not God's view. So he uses population statistics to drive home this point about how God doesn't play favorites.
Like, bigger doesn't mean better.
Exactly. So he gives the population of Java, of Canada, of the USA, Russia, India, China. He's showing that some of these countries have way more people than his home country, Canada,
Right.
or even the U.S.
And he's saying they're just as important.
Just as important. It's not about numbers with God. It's about reaching everyone.
So it's back to the Great Commission then,
It is.
to make disciples of all nations.
Absolutely.
Not just the biggest or the most powerful, but all of them.
That's it. And he ties this back to something he heard. Seek first the kingdom of God. He says this isn't just about personal piety.
It's a directive for the whole church.
Exactly. To spread God's kingdom everywhere, to prioritize world evangelism above all else.
Makes sense.
And he believed that by focusing on this, everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, I like that. Put first things first?
First things first. Now, chapter 3.
This one's good.
This is where he just comes right out and says it.
Lay it on us.
The supreme task of the church, he says, is the evangelization of the world. And he's not talking about just a few missionaries or organizations. He means the whole church.
Yeah, everyone has a part to play.
Everyone. And he gives this awesome model from his own experience at the People's Church where he was the pastor.
Yeah, I was reading about that.
So every member, from the choir to Sunday school kids.
Wow,
everyone, they were encouraged to support missions, to be actively involved.
Not just like throw some money in the offering plate and forget about it.
No. He really contrasted that with just having missions as a line item in the budget,
Yeah.
He said you got to have a connection to the work to give generously and consistently.
That makes sense.
And he talked about missionary conventions and faith promise offerings, how powerful those were.
What are faith promise offerings?
So it's not just giving what you have right now, it's pledging an amount and trusting God to provide it over time.
Oh, interesting. So it's kind of like stepping out in faith, trusting that God will come through.
Exactly. And he tells this amazing story about himself where he pledged $50, which was a lot of money for him back then.
Yeah.
And he didn't have it at that moment, but he pledged it anyway.
Bold move.
Bold move. And then guess what? Every month, without fail, he received that exact amount.
That's incredible.
Isn't it? It really solidified his belief in faith-based giving, and he made it a cornerstone of his ministry.
Wow.
And this experience really birthed that concept of the faith promise offering that he championed.
I see, yeah.
It's not just about giving, it's about trusting God to provide what you pledged, aligning with the principles we see from Paul.
Right, yeah.
And to illustrate this further, he shared the story of a businessman in Minneapolis. The guy was down on his luck, but after hearing Smith's message on giving to missions, his whole life turned around.
Oh, wow, like a complete transformation.
Complete transformation, and it all stemmed from giving.
So it's like that saying, you can't outgive God.
That's it. And Smith used this powerful analogy of the Sea of Galilee, which is full of life, receiving and giving out. And he contrasted it with the Dead Sea, which only receives and becomes stagnant.
Right, yeah.
And he applied this to churches and individuals, saying that when we focus on giving outwards, particularly to missions, we thrive.
But if we hoard and focus only on ourselves, then we stagnate.
Exactly. Then he throws this question at the listener.
I love those, yeah.
Where are you investing your resources? In temporary things or in the eternal work of reaching people with the gospel?
That's a good one. It really makes you think about your priorities.
It does. Now, still in chapter 3, Smith delves into his personal calling. The section's called How God Called Me to a Worldwide Ministry.
Okay, so this is his story.
His story, yeah. He felt strongly influenced by Ezekiel chapter 3, that it gave him this profound sense of a global mission.
Yeah, Ezekiel is pretty intense.
It is, right. And then he reflects on Jesus' ministry, how he was constantly traveling, preaching, driven by compassion.
Yeah, always on the move.
Always. And Jesus himself talked about the vast harvest and the few laborers, calling for prayer for more workers.
Yeah, he knew there was a need.
A huge need. So Smith felt this conviction growing that the gospel needed to reach every single nation. And at first, he wanted to go himself, to be that missionary.
But he obviously couldn't be everywhere at once.
Exactly. So he dedicated his life to mobilizing others.
I see. So instead of going himself, he focused on sending others.
That's right. He organized these missionary conventions, challenged young people to consider going as substitutes,
Substitutes?
Yeah, like for those who couldn't go themselves for whatever reason. And he really warned against churches becoming too inward focused.
Yeah, like just social clubs.
Exactly. He said that kind of focus would delay the gospel reaching places like Africa.
That's a strong statement.
It is. He's saying we can't afford to be comfortable.
We have a mission.
We do. And he urged churches to prioritize the back rows, the least reached.
The ones who've never even heard the name of Jesus.
Yeah, the ones who are furthest from the gospel.
And he even said that sending a pastor to the mission field could revitalize the whole church when they come back.
Right. They come back with a fresh perspective, a renewed passion.
That makes sense.
It does, right. And then he shares this story about Dr. Duff's appeal for India. It was so powerful, emphasizing that the call of Christ is higher than any earthly king or ruler.
So basically, nothing should hold us back from answering that call.
Nothing. And then he throws down the gauntlet. He asks you, the listener, will you go? Or will you send a substitute?
That's a great question.
It is, right. It's a challenge to each of us.
Okay, so now we're on to chapter 5.
Chapter 5.
And the title is, Are We Winning the Battle Against Heathenism?
Yes.
So He's really getting to the heart of it here, isn't he?
He is. He uses Romans 10:13 through 15,
Yes.
to highlight that connection between hearing the gospel and salvation.
Right, you can't believe what you haven't heard.
Exactly. And he emphasizes the role of preachers, of missionaries, of those who are sent out.
The ones who bring the message.
Yeah, they are the messengers. And he makes this bold statement that all our Bible knowledge, our personal spirituality, it's all kind of incomplete if we're not actively spreading the gospel.
It's like, it's good, but it's not enough.
Not enough. It's like having all this amazing food and keeping it all to yourself,
Yeah, instead of sharing it with those who are starving.
Exactly. And he talks about the difference between those who lack this vision, who might give a little here and there,
Okay.
and those who really focus their support on pioneer work, on the unreached areas.
Because that's where the need is greatest.
Exactly. And then he hits us with some pretty sobering stats about the number of languages of people groups who still haven't even heard the name of Jesus.
That's hard to fathom.
It is. And he talks about his appeals to young people, urging them to consider going to be those pioneers, to fill that gap.
Because there aren't enough workers to go around.
Not enough. It's a crisis. And then he clarifies the meaning of Acts 1:8. Yeah, he says it's not about going to Jerusalem, then Judea, then Samaria, and then finally the uttermost parts of the earth.
Okay.
It's about doing all of it at the same time.
I see. So it's not a progression, it's a simultaneous effort.
Exactly. And he ends the chapter reiterating that sense of urgency, that this task is far from finished.
The work is not done.
It's not done. We have a lot to do.
So chapter 6 gets into the why. Why has the church failed to reach the world?
Yeah, that's a big question.
It is. And he looks at both external pressures and internal shortcomings, things that have hindered the spread of the gospel.
Wait.
And he talks about the rise of nationalism, how that creates barriers for foreign missionaries.
Yeah, people wanting to protect their own.
Yeah, exactly.
And he also points to the influence of what he calls false religions.
False religious.
Yeah, he specifically mentions Islam
Okay.
and the historical persecution of Protestants by Roman Catholicism, as well as the spread of communism, which he saw as actively opposed to Christianity.
And he sees these as external obstacles, right?
Exactly. But then he turns inward and critiques the church itself. He talks about the overemphasis on institutions, on building colleges, seminaries, hospitals.
Okay, but those are good things, aren't they?
He doesn't say they're bad, but he says they can become a distraction from the primary mission, which is evangelism.
Ah, I see. Like we can get so caught up in building things that we forget about the people.
That's right. He advocates for establishing Bible schools that quickly train local believers.
So they can reach their own people.
Exactly. He calls it the Pauline method, which is basically going to a new area, winning converts, establishing a church with local leaders, ordaining elders, and then moving on.
Ah, so it's about multiplication.
Multiplication, yes. Self-supporting, self-governing, self-propagating churches.
I like that. It's empowering, isn't it?
Very much so. And he says that one reason for the slow progress is this lack of conviction about the lostness of those who haven't heard the gospel.
Ah, so if we don't truly believe they need saving,
Then why would we bother going?
yeah, that's true.
He quotes Ephesians 2, Acts 4, John 14 to really underscore this point about the necessity of Christ for salvation.
Right, he's not pulling any punches.
No. And he addresses the objection that this view seems unjust.
That God would condemn those who've never even had a chance to hear.
Exactly. He emphasizes that salvation is all by grace, not something we deserve.
Right.
And he concludes by reaffirming his belief in God's righteous judgment.
So chapter 7 is a more personal one. It's called How God Taught Me to Give to Missions.
Oh, this is a good one. He talks about this pivotal moment where he felt challenged to make a faith promise offering, even though he was facing his own financial struggles.
So this is back to that concept we talked about earlier.
It is, yeah.
Pledging an amount you don't necessarily have at the moment, but trusting God to provide it.
Exactly. He describes his internal struggle, how he felt convicted to pledge $50 even though he didn't have it.
$50 again.
$50.
It must have been a significant amount for him.
It was, yeah. And he talks about how he wrestled with it, but ultimately felt led to trust God. And then every single month, God provided that exact amount.
No way.
It's amazing, right? Like clockwork.
So consistent.
It really cemented his belief in God's faithfulness, and it shaped his whole understanding of giving.
I can see why. That's a powerful testimony.
It is. He really emphasizes the difference between a faith promise offering, and just giving from what you have.
Yeah, one is about dependence on God.
Exactly. It's about stepping out in faith, trusting him to come through.
And he says this aligns with what Paul taught in 2 Corinthians chapters 8 and 9.
That's right. And he tells another amazing story, this time about a businessman in Minneapolis who was struggling.
Okay.
But after hearing Smith's message about giving to missions, he decided to put it into practice, and his life completely turned around.
Wow. So he experienced that you can't outgive God principle firsthand?
He did. And then Smith brings back that analogy of the Sea of Galilee teeming with life because it gives out freely.
Versus the Dead Sea, which is stagnant because it only receives.
That's it. And this time he applies it to individual believers, saying that a life of giving outwards leads to abundance and spiritual health.
While hoarding and focusing only on ourselves leads to stagnation.
Right. So he challenges the listener, saying, think about where you're investing your life's treasures.
Are we hoarding or are we giving freely?
Exactly. Are we investing in things that will fade away, or are we investing in eternity?
And then he uses that illustration of the wealthy woman and her coachman, right?
Yeah, to highlight the eternal value of investing in missions. He's saying that earthly wealth means nothing in the grand scheme of things.
And he talks about shared reward, how those who support missionaries are considered partners in the work.
That's right. Like everyone has a part to play, even if you can't physically go yourself.
So it's not just about the ones on the front lines, but also those who hold the ropes, so to speak.
Exactly. It's a team effort. And he urges everyone to be part of this bucket brigade, passing along the resources to where they're needed.
Yeah, passing along the water.
Passing along the water, yeah.
And then he throws out another challenge.
I love those, yeah.
He asks, what are you personally contributing?
Mm.
And then he gets even more specific.
Okay, how does he get specific?
He's like, think about the implications of not giving or giving less than you can.
Mm.
He's like, we need to be moving forward, not just maintaining the status quo.
That makes sense.
And then he ends with this thought-provoking question.
What is it?
He asks, will anyone in those unreached parts of the world ever have reason to thank you for your contribution?
Wow, that's powerful.
Right.
Makes you really think about your impact.
Yeah, and he ends with that challenge to give according to your income, or God might make your income according to your giving.
He doesn't mince words.
Nope.
He's very direct. But, he's speaking from a place of deep conviction, and he wants to see the world reached with the gospel.
If you're enjoying this deep dive and want to learn more, consider checking out Tyrannus Hall Bible College, THBC. They have amazing resources and courses on missions and biblical studies. You can find them on YouTube at https://www.youtube.com at Tyrannus Hall Bible College.
That's a great resource.
All right, so moving on to Chapter 8.
Chapter 8.
And this one is titled, How Can We Evangelize the World in This Generation?
Okay, so he's getting into the how-to now.
Exactly. And he starts by highlighting the urgency, using Mark 13:10, that the gospel must be preached to all nations.
It's not an option, it's a command.
Right. And he emphasizes the power of the written word.
Of literature, yeah.
He says faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God, quoting Romans 10:17.
That's a key verse.
It is. And he even talks about how the Reformation was fueled by the widespread distribution of Martin Luther's writings.
Wow, I never thought of it like that.
Right. It's like the power of the printed page.
The power of the printed page. And then he highlights how literacy was increasing rapidly at that time, millions learning to read.
That's huge.
It is. And he's saying this presents an unprecedented opportunity, but also a challenge.
What do we give them to read?
Exactly. He contrasts the church's efforts with groups like the Communists and Jehovah's Witnesses, who are effectively using literature to spread their ideologies.
Saying we're not utilizing this tool as well as we could be.
Right. And he talks about the World Literature Crusade.
Okay, what's that?
It was this effort to systematically place the gospel message in every home.
Oh, wow.
And he praised their approach, how cost-effective it was, and how it transcended national barriers.
By printing materials in the local language.
Exactly. He draws a parallel to Paul's ministry, how he went from house to house, reaching every creature.
So he's advocating for that kind of widespread approach.
He is, yeah. He even suggests that even in closed countries where missionaries can't get in,
Right.
the printed gospel can still penetrate.
It's like a silent missionary.
It is, yeah. And he contrasts how tracts might be rejected in some Western contexts.
Right, people just throw them away.
But in unreached areas, they might be the only exposure to the gospel someone ever gets.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, now we're on to Chapter 9, the Pauline methods.
Okay.
And he reflects on the student volunteer movement.
Okay.
which was this surge of young people committing to missions.
Right, I remember reading about that.
But then he asks, why is the world still unevangelized?
That's a good question. If there was all this enthusiasm, why hasn't more been accomplished?
Right, and he says it's because we haven't fully adopted the strategies that Paul used.
Oh, interesting. So he's looking back at the early church for a model.
Exactly. And he specifically critiques the practice of foreign missionaries becoming long-term pastors of local churches.
Okay.
He says that wasn't Paul's method. Paul focused on training local believers.
Right, to be the leaders.
Exactly. He'd establish a church, appoint elders, and then move on.
To the next unreached area.
Exactly. And he gives examples of missionaries who stayed put for decades.
Okay.
And he says in some cases that actually hindered the spread of the gospel.
Because they weren't going to new places.
Exactly. So he commends missionary societies that prioritize evangelism and training local leaders.
Instead of building institutions.
Right. He's saying the primary need is to preach the gospel.
Okay, so back to the basics.
Back to the basics.
Mhm.
And then he lays out Paul's strategy.
How does it go?
Evangelize, win converts, form them into small churches, appoint elders from among them.
And those elders, they oversee the church.
Right, but they don't necessarily give up their jobs.
So it's not about paid pastors in every church.
Not right away, no.
Interesting.
And they lead worship, baptize, teach, care for the sick.
It's like a very organic model.
It is. And as the church grows, they multiply, appoint new leaders.
And the pastors, they're supported by their own congregations, not foreign funds.
Yeah, that's key. So Smith argues that too often the church has focused on building institutions, organizations, instead of reaching out through evangelism.
And that this has slowed us down.
Yeah, and created financial burdens.
So he contrasts that with the Pauline method.
Which is more sustainable, more culturally sensitive.
And allows the Holy Spirit to work more freely through local leaders.
Exactly. All right, so on to chapter 10.
Chapter 10.
And this one's titled Christ's Threefold Commission.
Okay, what's that threefold commission?
Look, pray, and go.
Look, pray, and go. Got it.
So look involves lifting up our eyes, seeing the harvest fields like Jesus said in John 4:35.
Yeah, seeing the need.
Recognizing that need and not getting distracted by other things.
Right, not focusing on buildings instead of souls.
Exactly. Then pray.
This is huge, right?
It is. We need to be praying for laborers, like Jesus said in Matthew 9:38.
Because the work is spiritual.
It is. We can't do it on our own strength.
We need God's power.
Absolutely. And finally, go. This is the command to take the gospel to all nations, Matthew 28:19.
The Great Commission.
And he ties this back to the vision of Revelation 7:9. A multitude from every tribe and tongue.
Wow, that's the goal.
It is. And he quotes Acts 15:14, Mark 13:10, Matthew 24:14.
All about the gospel reaching the whole world.
Yeah, it's all connected. And then he brings in Ezekiel, those sobering words about the responsibility to warn the wicked.
Oh,
And he compares it to the guilt of someone who fails to prevent physical harm, like seeing someone drowning and not doing anything.
he's saying it's just as serious.
It is, in his view. And then he ends the chapter with this challenge.
Okay.
He asks, what if you truly believed in eternal consequences? Would it change how you live?
That's a heavy question.
It is. And he ends with, do you feel this urgency? Does the word of God burn within your heart?
Those are good questions to reflect on. Now, chapter 11 is all about the missionary call.
Okay.
And he defines it as more than just a decision, but a divine urge, a prompting from God that you can't ignore.
It's like an inner voice.
It is, yeah. He
Yeah.
shares his own experience of feeling this call, this urge to go to the mission field.
And he encourages those seeking God's will to pray daily about their life's work.
To really seek his guidance.
Yeah. And he says to read missionary biographies.
To be inspired by those who've gone before.
And to allow God to burden their hearts for a specific field, a specific people group.
I like that. To let God lead you to where you're supposed to be.
Exactly. And then he contrasts two types of volunteers.
Okay, who are they?
The passive ones who just say, here I am, but don't do anything.
Oh, yeah.
And the active ones who take initiative, who overcome obstacles, who pursue their calling.
So it's about action, not just words.
Exactly. And he says that true happiness is found in the center of God's will.
When we're aligned with his purpose for our lives.
Exactly. And he ends with that question. Will you listen to his voice and answer, here, my Lord, send me?
Another powerful challenge. He's really good at those.
He is. Okay, now chapter 12 gets into the practicalities. Missionary preparation.
Okay, so if you feel that call, what do you do?
Well, he emphasizes the importance of actually preparing.
Not just jumping in blindly.
Right. He advises completing high school, graduating from an accredited Bible institute.
So get that solid foundation.
Yeah, and for those younger, he suggests considering college with a Bible major or seminary.
But he's careful to specify
What's that?
that the seminary should have a strong missionary emphasis.
So not just head knowledge, but a heart for the lost.
Exactly. And he emphasizes language study,
Oh, yeah, that's crucial.
learning the languages of the people you want to reach.
He even recommends taking courses in phonetics and linguistics.
To really master those language skills.
And then practically, he says, to apply to established mission boards.
The ones working in the field you feel called to.
Yeah, and to maintain contact with them throughout your training.
So you're not just doing this in isolation.
Right, you have support and accountability. And he really advocates for going under a board that takes financial responsibility.
So the missionaries are fully supported?
Yeah, and he advises choosing missions with a good track record, experience, and good accountability.
Makes sense. You want to be part of a reputable organization.
Exactly. And he ends by highlighting the honor of being a missionary.
It is an honor, isn't it?
It is. And he quotes David Brainerd's famous dying words, "I would not have spent my life otherwise for the whole world."
Wow, that's powerful.
So inspiring. Okay, chapter 13, missionary hardships.
This one's a bit heavier.
Yeah, he's getting real about the challenges.
He acknowledges that missionary work has changed over time.
Right, it's not all the same.
But he says that pioneering in unreached areas still demands heroism, sacrifice, even facing persecution.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. He quotes David Livingstone.
One of the greats.
Livingstone said that death for those who are going to Jesus is a glorious event.
Wow.
It puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
It does. And Smith reminds us that missions has always faced opposition. He talks about the East India Company's resistance to William Carey.
Oh, yeah, Carey faced a lot of opposition.
He did. And the Church of Scotland's initial reluctance to send him out.
But Carey persevered.
He did. He's considered the father of modern missions.